Single mom's ultrasound accidentally revealed to CEO their life-changing connection exposed. Sarah sat nervously in the hospital waiting room, fiddling with the worn-out edges of her coat. She cast a glance at the smiling faces around her, happy couples, expectant mothers, all radiating joy and hope. Meanwhile, her heart raced as her mind flickered with worry. Was it selfish to wish for something more than just survival for herself and her kids? With 2 jobs balancing the cluttered chaos of life, this ultrasound represented both hope and anxiety, a bittersweet promise of what was to come. As she lay on the exam table, the cool gel spread across her belly, tension filled the air. Her eyes drifted to the monitor, and suddenly she caught the briefest flicker of movement. Her heart leaped with pride. That tiny life was a testament to her strength, the embodiment of relentless love. But just as she savored this fleeting moment of joy, in a strange twist of fate, an unexpected digital mishap crossed her life with another. A well-polished CEO's Jack, at that moment, was reviewing a presentation when his attention suddenly diverted to his phone. It pinged with notifications, one from the hospital's secure server, and a misdirected ultrasound image popped up. It was her image. The baby squirming on the screen seemed a world away from his sleek, corner office. For a fleeting moment, he saw the raw strength of Sarah's world through that image. The corporate ladder he had climbed felt like a gilded cage, where success meant isolation. Caught in this whirlwind of emotions, Sarah had no clue her privacy had been breached. All she could ponder was whether she could provide more for her children. The ensuing weeks reshaped their worlds, Jack increasingly drawn to Sarah's steadfast spirit. He found himself questioning what success truly meant. The frantic pace of his corporate life felt empty alongside her resolute fight for her family. As an inexplicable connection sparked between them, Jack reached out, offering Sarah a collaboration that could change her life, an opportunity to elevate her beyond the daily grind. She hesitated. Her instincts screamed to protect her kids, to keep them grounded in their humble roots. Yet the idea of financial security, of breaking free from the continuous worry about bills, beckoned her. Could a partnership with Jack really bear fruit without compromising the very values she fought to uphold? Before they could truly explore their connection, an unexpected confrontation revealed cracks in both of their facades. Success isn't just wealth, Sarah exclaimed, her eyes flashing with fierce resolve. It's about family, love, what you make every single day count. Jack felt the weight of her words reverberate through him. His vision of progress based on accolades seemed hollow under the layers of their emotional exchange. Were they standing on the brink of understanding, or had they inadvertently built a wall? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Yet, just as sparks flew and an understanding began to blossom, unforeseen challenges loomed. Jack faced a crisis that shook his very foundation, threatening their still fragile connection. He found himself at a crossroads, straddling ambition and the authenticity of the bond they shared. Meanwhile, Sarah stood resilient yet torn, caught in the duality of wanting a better future for her children while grappling with guilt at the thought of chaining her identity to the uncertainties of Jack's corporate world. As they stood on the precipice of change, the weight of their worlds hung heavy in the air, filled with doubt and shimmering possibilities. What would they choose, and could they navigate through the storm that threatened to pull them apart? Sarah stared out of her kitchen window, her gaze lost in the distant skyline. The city hummed with life, yet here, in her little world, silence reigned. The chirping of birds and the soft patter of rain against the glass reminded her of her responsibilities. The smell of burnt toast lingered in the air, a reminder of her absent-mindedness amid the chaos of the last few days. She thought about Jack, the CEO whose life had intersected with hers in the most bizarre of ways. Their last conversation echoed in her mind. His confusion had mirrored her own, a battle between what they wanted and what was expected of them. Could she really put her trust in someone who had lived a life so different from hers? But then again, perhaps that was the point. Jack was doing everything he could to reach out, but Sarah wavered. The offer hung like a pendulum over her head, a chance to break free from the suffocating cycle of work and bills. Yet, did it come with strings attached? Would she lose the essence of what it meant to be a mother, to be her own person? In the process, she pulled out her phone, scrolling through messages. The ones from Jack were laced with encouragement, apologies for the initial mishap with the ultrasound, and plans for their potential collaboration. Each ping from her phone felt heavier than the last. All she wanted was to make the right choice for her children. But what would the right choice look like? As the rain tapped against her window, she picked up her mug, its warmth grounding her. The news of Jack's corporate upheaval was fresh. She had read the headlines: board meetings, restructuring, uncertainty. How could they forge a partnership when he was entangled in his own storm? Hours passed, and her kids returned from school, their laughter filling the house. The moment they bounded through the door, her heart swelled with love, momentarily pushing aside her worries. Their bright faces brought her joy. They were everything she fought for. Her dreams of giving them a comfortable life flickered in her mind like the flame of a candle in a storm. "Mom, can we have pizza for dinner?" her youngest asked, his innocent eyes shining. "Pizza it is," Sarah replied, feeling the tension in her chest loosen a little. She moved into action, preparing the dinner, but her mind kept wandering back to Jack. It was complicated. He represented both an opportunity and a risk. Later that evening, with the kids nestled and content, she found herself staring at her laptop, Jack's proposal open on the screen. The words blurred as her mind wrestled with possibilities. If she partnered with him, she could secure a brighter future for her family. Yet, was success truly worth sacrificing her independence or the values she held dear? Just as she was about to shut the laptop, a notification pinged. It was a message from Jack. "Let us meet tomorrow. I really believe we can create something special together." Her heart raced. She wanted to reply, but the words eluded her. Meeting Jack could be the turning point of her life, or it could unravel everything she had built alone. Suddenly, Sarah realized the weight of her decision, hanging in the air like thick fog. Could she step into a partnership with a man whose world felt so foreign? Was this security worth the potential loss of control over her destiny? As fear battled with hope, she clicked the reply button, her finger hovering over the keyboard. In that moment, she knew the answer might define her path, but what she didn't expect was the unforeseen knock at her door, the kind that could change everything. Sarah stood frozen, her heart skipping a beat. The knock came again, more insistent this time. She placed her laptop aside, the weight of her choices swirling in her mind like a storm. Gathering her resolve, she walked towards the door, uncertainty mingling with anticipation. When she opened it, she was met with the unexpected sight of Jack standing there, raindrops glistening on his hair, his expression a mixture of urgency and warmth. "Sarah," he said, his voice barely above a whisper, as if he was afraid to disturb the fragile serenity of the moment. "I hope I'm not imposing. I needed to see you." Caught off guard, she stepped aside to let him in. Come in," she stammered, her mind racing. What was he doing here? Did he come to discuss the proposal in person? Would he sense her hesitance? He stepped inside, shaking off the rain, and as he did, Sarah couldn't help but notice how the light from the kitchen illuminated his features, the familiar lines of stress etched on his forehead. She felt a strange mix of admiration and sympathy. "I saw the message," he continued, his eyes searching hers. "But I couldn't wait to talk. Things at the office are falling apart, and I'm trying to navigate 100 different directions. I thought it might help to discuss things face to face." Sarah felt the stirring of compassion within her. Here was a man, strong in many ways but vulnerable too, standing at the precipice of a life-altering decision. Just like her. Sure, let us talk, she said, guiding him to the kitchen table where remnants of dinner lay scattered. She busied herself with pouring 2 cups of hot tea, grateful for the momentary distraction as her heart raced. Doubts and fears crowded her thoughts, but she knew this conversation could shift everything. So, what is going on with you? She asked, trying to keep the tone light despite the heaviness in the air. Jack leaned forward, rubbing his temples. I don't want to overload you with corporate jargon, but there's a lot of pressure on me right now. The board is fighting over how to move forward after the shakeup. It's chaos. I thought that having a partner might help alleviate some of that stress both personally and professionally. As he spoke, Sarah felt a knot in her stomach. This was it, the very reason she hesitated. Jack needed her, but could she step into that kind of turbulence? I know you have your own priorities, he continued, but I can assure you that my intention is to build something great, something that benefits us both. I can't shake the feeling that you're part of this. That we're meant to do this together. The sincerity in his voice tugged at her heart. She wanted to believe in the possibility of something extraordinary but feared the cost. What would it mean for her future? The visions of her children, running through the house, their laughter wrapping around her like a soft blanket, filled her mind. I just don't know, Jack, she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. It's such a huge leap. He reached across the table, his fingers brushing against hers. The warmth of his touch sent a jolt through her, igniting feelings she had tried to suppress. I know it's risky, he said, his eyes pleading with hers. But sometimes, stepping into the unknown is the only way to find what we truly want. For a moment, the world outside faded. All that mattered was the connection sparking between them. Was she truly ready to leap into this? Just as she contemplated her response, the unmistakable sound of her children giggling in the next room broke the bubble. Jack pulled back, his expression shifting to one of understanding. I shouldn't keep you. You have your kids to think about. Wait, she called out, her voice steadier than she felt. Maybe we should talk more about this tomorrow? I need time to think. He nodded, an encouraging smile breaking through his previous tension. Tomorrow it is. Just don't close the door on us yet. As he stepped back into the rain, Sarah felt a pang of longing mixed with clarity. Could she really embrace the unknown before her? Was her heart ready for whatever came next? As the door clicked shut, she took a deep breath, glancing at her phone once more. Jack's message sat unanswered, and she knew she had a decision to make by morning. But before she could dive into that thought, a sudden commotion erupted from the kids' room, followed by an unexpected sound, a crash. Her heart raced again, this time for an entirely different reason. What had they done now? With uncertainty swirling back in, she sprinted towards the laughter, but there was a shadow lingering, one that hinted tomorrow would be anything but ordinary. Sarah burst into the kids' room, ready to scold them for whatever mischief they had cooked up. But as she entered, her stern expression faded. The sight before her was a bittersweet mix of chaos and cuteness. Her 2 children, Ella and Max, were piled on the floor among a flurry of colorful building blocks and stuffed animals, their faces alight with glee. What happened in here? She asked, half laughing despite the overwhelm of the scene. We're building a castle, Mommy. Ella announced, her eyes wide with excitement. A huge one. Can we make it bigger and bigger? Yeah. And we got it to stand up all by ourselves. Max chimed in, his cheeks smeared with chocolate. Seeing their joy made her heart swell, even if the cleanup loomed large in her mind. In that moment, Sarah felt her earlier uncertainty shift. Maybe tomorrow would bring clarity, but right now, her children needed her. Okay, but let us make sure it doesn't fall down again. Help me here. Constructing a castle requires teamwork. As they started fixing the haphazardly built structure, she couldn't shake the thought of Jack and their earlier discussion. Could she really say yes to him? Could she become part of that world filled with corporate chaos and pressure? But here and now, surrounded by laughter and love, it felt equally monumental to help her children create something that would bring them joy. They worked together, laughing and strategizing like little architects. With every block they added, Sarah's heart began to chart its own course, thinking not just of the immediate but of a future where she could be more than just their mom, someone with her own dreams. She glanced out the window, the rain creating a soft patter against the glass, a soothing backdrop to their laughter. It felt like a paradox, as if life was both rushing forward and standing still at the same time. The warmth of her children filled her home while the chill of uncertainty lingered just beyond the door. Suddenly, Max toppled a stack of blocks, sending them clattering across the floor. Sarah chuckled but then saw it the way he looked up at her, as if seeking approval or comfort. It struck her, then, that her actions today would ripple into their future. "That was a good try, buddy," she said, kneeling down to help him gather the fallen blocks. "Just remember, sometimes things fall apart so we can build them even better." "Like the castle?" Max answered excitedly, his eyes shining. "Exactly," she said, excitement bubbling up. As she swept the remnants of their creation into a box, she felt a flicker of courage. "And that's how we take leaps. We build again and better." The realization hit her fears about Jack, about life, were just another set of blocks waiting to be rearranged. Maybe she could risk stepping into the unknown while still being the mom her children needed. After tidying up, they settled down for a movie night. Snuggled on the couch with popcorn in hand, Sarah felt peace wash over her. She held her kids close, breathing in the sweet scent of their shampoo, the warmth of their trust. As the flickering images danced on the screen, her phone buzzed a message from Jack. Her heart did a little leap, but so did her anxiety. Reading his words could unleash the tumult of the day ahead. Taking a breath, she hesitated. Would it be a decision that solidified their future, or one that shattered the peace she felt right now? The kids laughed at some on-screen antics, and she smiled, knowing she had to choose between the security of her current life or an uncertain adventure. And just like that, with the movie flowing and laughter all around, she felt a new tension forming within. What was she truly willing to risk for a chance at something great? As the credits rolled, Sarah glanced back at her phone once more, her heart thumping louder. Was she ready to open that door once again? The answer, she sensed, would come sooner than she thought. The moment hung in the air, thick with uncertainty. Sarah's hand hovered over the phone, the screen illuminated with Jack's name. She felt the weight of 1,000 decisions pressing down on her. Perhaps it was just a simple message that could wait, but something inside her kicked fiercely. What if it contained the answers she longed for? "Mommy! Look at that!" Max shouted, breaking her train of thought. The screen had switched to a vibrant animation, and he was captivated, his small hands clapping in delight. Ella giggled beside him, her eyes dancing with excitement. Their laughter filled the room like music, and for a split second, it drowned out the noise of her conflicting emotions. Okay, Sarah said, forcing herself to set the phone aside. She joined them on the couch, swallowing her apprehension. They settled into each other, small bodies pressing against hers, their giggles sparking warmth inside her chest. But as the plot of the movie unfolded, so did her thoughts. She glanced at her phone one more time, the temptation thrumming through her like an electric current. What if Jack had a plan? What if there was a chance for them, for her? Maybe this was the moment to make a leap, to embrace that uncertainty. The movie faded into the background, her focus shifting entirely to her children. In their eyes, she saw reflections of her own fears and dreams. The castle that had been their world earlier was now a symbol of something greater: their home, their family unit, and everything they had built together. Yet, the desire to build something for herself felt equally pressing. Could she really let it go? Just then, Max nudged her, his voice a soft whisper. "Mommy, can we build an even bigger castle tomorrow?" "Of course, we can," she replied with a smile, her heart swelling at his unwavering enthusiasm. Let us make it the best castle ever. What if we add a dragon? Ella suggested, bouncing in excitement. And a drawbridge. Sarah chuckled, feeling the weight of her stress dissipate just a bit. A dragon, huh? That sounds like quite the task. But I think we can do it. At that moment, the world outside faded away, just her and her children. The burdens of adulthood drifted far into the background. Yet, that lightness was fleeting. The message from Jack loomed like a dark cloud, waiting to re-enter her mind. Later, after the lights dimmed and her children drifted off to sleep, Sarah sat in the stillness of the house. She felt the silence wrap around her like a heavy quilt. She took a deep breath, unconsciously leaning towards her phone. The buzz that had disturbed her earlier now felt like an invitation. With shaking hands, she unlocked her phone, the screen shining bright against the dim light. Should I open it? Am I ready for this? She whispered to herself, knowing full well that her life was hanging in the balance. At this moment, everything was a risk, every decision could lead to uncertainty or a renewed sense of purpose. Before she could second-guess herself, she tapped the message. It opened, revealing just a few words. But those words felt explosive, more profound than she anticipated. She inhaled deeply, her heart racing. This could change everything: her path, her plans, and her relationship with Jack. And then, hovering just beyond the horizon, she could see the uncertainty of tomorrow waiting, what lay in store. Was it a path to hope, or was it a frenetic whirlwind she couldn't control? One thing was clear: whatever decision she made next would send ripples far beyond just her life. Sarah felt both exhilarated and terrified. But as her heart drummed loudly in her ears, she knew now that the next step awaited her, just beyond her grasp. The words on the screen were simple yet heavy. Can we talk? I miss you. It felt as if time stopped. A flood of memories surged through her, all the laughter, the sadness, and the dreams she had shared with Jack. Once, they had infused their lives with such promise, visions of what their future could be. But somewhere amidst the chaos of reality, those dreams had frayed at the edges. Sarah closed her eyes briefly, grappling with a rush of emotions. She thought about what that simple message could ignite. A reconciliation? A bombardment of questions? A longing she thought she had buried? The jarring silence of her home amplified her heartbeat, echoed the essence of her dilemma. She set the phone down next to her, deciding she needed to pause. Moments blurred in her mind, memories swirling like leaves caught in a gust. She could almost hear Jack's laughter, see the way his eyes lit up when talking about their kids. But was that enough to leap into the unknown again? Without realizing it, Sarah ran her hand over the couch, seeking solace in the familiar cushions. The scent of the children's lavender fabric softener offered a slice of comfort in her turmoil. They were her anchor, a reason to stand firm. But was it fair to them if she kept searching for something more? Just then, a soft rustle from the hallway disrupted her thoughts, drawing her attention. Max and Ella, two sleep-tousled figures, emerged from their room, eyes blinking in the dim light. "Mommy," Ella said, voice a thin whisper, "can we have a midnight snack?" They were a distraction, one she welcomed. "Absolutely," Sarah replied, forcing a smile that melted over her anxiety. She led them into the kitchen, the tiny feet trailing behind her like a comforting soundtrack. Tonight, she could focus on their needs instead of her conflicting emotions. In the kitchen, she busied herself as Max pulled a chair closer, eager to help. "I can get the cookies, Mommy." "Perfect. Grab some plates too, please." Sarah's heart warmed as she watched his excitement, and for that moment, it felt like everything could be all right. As they settled down with cookies and milk, their laughter filled the room, and her weight started to lift. The concerns of her heart took a back seat, if only for now. Yet, the unrelenting tick of time reminded her that reality awaited an unsettling force. "Mommy," Max said between bites, "will you always be there for us?" The sincerity in his question struck her like a lightning bolt. Of course, sweetheart. I'll always be here. But as she said the words, a knot twisted in her stomach. Would she? Could she allow herself to be present while wrestling with the echoes of what once was with Jack? Her thoughts breezed back to the message waiting on her phone. An opportunity, a risk, a chance to possibly weave their lives back together. But was she prepared for the fallout? Just then, Ella's giggle broke through her contemplation. Can we build that castle tomorrow, with the dragon? Yes. Sarah said, feeling a renewed spark of hope. But don't forget about the drawbridge. It has to be the best one yet. The three of them dove into their imaginings, a kingdom of dreams crafted in cookie crumbs and milk. Yet, beneath the laughter lingered a question about the future, a shadow of uncertainty that whispered in her ear. As they wrapped up their snack, Sarah made a silent promise to herself: she needed to answer Jack. But what would that decision hold? Could the path to healing and connection be forged, or would it lead her deeper into heartache? The hour grew late, but her heart felt restless. Tomorrow promised a chance for both the castle and a reckoning. One thing was sure: whatever lay ahead would be a pivotal moment in her journey. With dawn beckoning close, she steeled herself for what was to come. The morning sun peeked through the kitchen window, filtering through the blinds like golden ribbons. Sarah stood at the counter, sipping her coffee, her thoughts clouded by the heaviness of the message from Jack. Just hours ago, as she tucked Ella into bed, her daughter's innocent chatter about dragons and princesses gave her a momentary escape. But now, those simple dreams felt overshadowed by the complexities of adult relationships. Max came bounding into the kitchen, his hair a wild mess from sleep. "Mommy!" he exclaimed, still wearing his pajamas, "can we make pancakes today?" His eyes sparkled with enthusiasm, a reflection of the carefree innocence she cherished. "Absolutely. Pancakes it is," she replied, feeling a smile tug at her lips. As the morning unfolded, the aroma of butter and syrup filled the house. Laughter flowed easily, uncomplicated by the world outside. Yet, as she flipped the pancakes, Sarah's mind drifted back to Jack. She imagined him standing in the kitchen, debating whether to add chocolate chips or blueberries. Would he laugh at the chaos of pancake batter flying everywhere? Would they joke about whose turn it was to do the dishes? With each quick movement, she thought of what her life could be if she allowed Jack back in. The joy? The potential for heartache? The thought tangled her heart in a knot. "Mommy, I want to help," Max said, reaching for the mixing bowl, his little hands eager. She let him stir, the two of them working in harmony. It felt good. "That looks great, buddy," she praised, her heart swelling with pride, but amid the sweetness, there remained an undercurrent of tension. The phone lay on the table, abandoned but relentless in its silence. She stared at it, deep in thought, considering whether she was ready to face Jack again. After breakfast, the kids cleared the table and scampered off to play, which gave Sarah a moment's reprieve. She settled at the dining table, her finger hovering over the screen. Should she? Should she let her heart speak or protect it? Finally, the decision crystallized in her mind. She opened the message and began to type. "Hey, Jack. Let us talk." It felt like a tiny leap into an abyss, her heart pounding with anticipation and fear. Just then, the doorbell rang. Startled, her hands trembled. Who could that be? She hesitated, then pulled open the door. Standing there was the tall figure of Jack, looking just as she remembered but with a hint of caution in his expression. "Sarah," he said, his voice warm yet laden with uncertainty. "Can we talk?" The knot in her stomach tightened again. Here he was, in person, the whirlwind of emotions racing back. It was like the world around her faded, leaving just the two of them standing at a precipice. Yeah," she finally replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "Yeah, we can talk." As they stepped inside, Sarah's heart raced. The memories flooded back harder than she anticipated, mixing with an electric tension that charged the air between them. She didn't know what would happen next, but one thing was clear: they were on the edge of something that could either build them both a future or unravel them entirely. Jack hesitated a moment, then opened his mouth to speak, but the words hung heavily in the air, craving release. What connection might be resurrected? Or would this conversation unveil even more heartache? With each moment stretched in uncertainty, both held the weight of unspoken words. Would this be the reunion she hoped for, or the beginning of another painful chapter? Because was going back ever truly the answer? Jack stepped further into the house, the familiar warmth enveloping him almost like an embrace. It felt both comforting and terrifying. Sarah watched him closely, her soul craving answers while feeling the sharp edge of doubt creeping in. "It's been a while," he began, scratching the back of his neck, a nervous habit she remembered well. "I wasn't sure if you wanted to see me." His words were cushioned with hesitation, but the sincerity in his gaze pierced through the tension. I wasn't sure either," Sarah admitted, swallowing hard. Memories of laughter, arguments, stolen glances, and quiet moments all bubbled to the surface. Each one had shaped the love they shared and the hurt they had both felt. The weight of a rich history hung heavy in the air. Jack took a step closer. "I wanted to explain what happened, to make it right." His voice cracked just slightly, vulnerable, like an open wound. "When I left, I thought." He paused, searching for his own truths, then continued, "I thought it was best for everyone. For you, for us, for your kids, but it didn't really sit right with me. I've missed you. I've missed all of this." Sarah felt her heart constrict. Mixed feelings raced through her: longing, anger, love. "You made a choice, Jack. You can't just come back after months and expect everything to be the same." Her words came out sharper than she intended, but she needed him to understand the hurt that had simmered beneath the surface. "I know," he replied, his voice barely above a whisper. "I've been thinking about it every day. How I regret my decision, how I should have fought for what we had." Max's laughter echoed from the other room, bringing a brief smile to Sarah's lips. It was an innocent reminder of what she cherished, the little moments that filled her life with joy. But the thought of Jack stepping into that dynamic made her heart ache in a way she hadn't prepared for. "You'll have to understand if it's not easy for me," Sarah said, her voice trembling slightly. "I don't want to drag my kids through the emotional roller coaster that we experienced before." Jack nodded, the weight of her words evident on his face. "I get it. I wouldn't want that for them either. But I believe we can figure it out together if you give me a chance." As she studied his expression, a flash of hope ignited in her chest. But the fear that followed was daunting. What if this was just another cycle of hurt? "I don't know if I can, Jack," she finally confessed, her voice soft. "What if we're just setting ourselves up for more pain?" He stepped closer, locking eyes with her. "What if we find a way to be better? What if we can take it slow and rebuild?" Sarah's breath caught in her throat. His earnestness was palpable, and it stirred something deep within her. She wanted to believe in a second chance. A part of her needed it. But doubt lingered like a shadow, clouding her thoughts. Just then, Ella wandered into the room, her pigtails bouncing. "Mommy, can I show Jack my drawing?" In that moment, reality returned. Sarah looked down at her daughter's bright face, and all those swirling emotions condensed into one undeniable truth: her children's happiness came first. "Maybe we can take one step at a time," Sarah said, her own voice now steady. "But no promises." Jack smiled, hope dancing behind his eyes, the corners of his mouth curving gently. "That's all I can ask for." As they turned toward Ella, the air felt lighter, but a deep wave of uncertainty lingered. Was it truly the beginning of something new, or just an illusion built upon fragile dreams? In the quiet of the moment, Jack's phone buzzed violently, breaking through the fragile peace. He glanced at it and his expression shifted, a seriousness enveloping the room once more. "Sorry, I need to," he started, hesitating, but Sarah knew whatever it wasn't good. "What happened?" she asked, her heart racing. I have to take this. It's work, he said, stepping away but not before the warmth left the space between them. As the door slightly closed behind him, Sarah felt the weight of conflicting emotions again. She had opened a door. Now, she had to wonder, was she strong enough to walk through it? And waiting for the answer loomed another urgent question: what if the truth he leaves with and the life she built are about to collide in ways she never anticipated? Sarah stood in the dim light of the living room, the silence pressing against her ears like a thick fog. Ella was still tugging on her arm, eager to show off her latest masterpiece, but her mother felt lost in a whirlwind of thoughts. Jack's absence echoed loudly in her mind, filling the air with the remnants of his words that hung like ghosts in the space between them. "Mommy, look!" Ella's bright voice broke through her reverie as she held out a crayon drawing, proudly beaming at her mother. It was a colorful mix of squiggles and shapes, resembling a family: a stick figure dad with a big smile, a stick figure mom with wild hair, and two little figures that must have been her and Max. Sarah crouched down, her lips curling into a soft smile despite the emotional storm swirling within her. "Wow, Ella! That's beautiful," she exclaimed, her heart warming at her daughter's creativity. It was moments like these that gave her strength. But as she admired the drawing, her mind drifted back to Jack and what his return might mean for their little family. Suddenly, Max appeared, his energy infectious as he bounded into the room. "Did you guys see my new toy?" Sarah caught the spark of innocence in her children's eyes and took a deep breath, determined to block out the flood of anxiety that threatened to sweep her away. "Let us see it, buddy." She stood, her heart still heavy but shifting focus onto her children, the stability they needed and deserved. As the kids chatted excitedly, Sarah's phone buzzed on the kitchen counter, interrupting the lightness of the moment. It was a message from her sister, asking about dinner plans. Sarah typed a quick reply, grateful for a distraction, but her thoughts instantly drifted back to the weight of the conversation with Jack. Minutes passed, filled with laughter and the innocent chatter of her kids, but still, the distant hum of worry clawed at her. She glanced toward the door, half hoping Jack would return soon, but the silence echoed back instead. What if he didn't come back? It was a question that loomed large. "Mommy?" Max's voice pulled her from her thoughts. "Can we eat dinner soon? I'm starving." "Oh. Of course, let us get started." The kitchen was familiar territory, a place filled with the smells of home, and she welcomed it like an old friend. As she moved about, chopping vegetables and stirring a pot, Sarah's mind wandered again. If Jack stayed, what if her children formed an attachment to him again? Would they get hurt again? She hated even thinking that way. She wanted to believe that things could be different this time. Just then, Ella slipped into the kitchen, her tiny hands gripping the crumpled drawing. "Mommy, can I give this to Jack?" Sarah turned, hesitating. "Sweetheart, why do you want to give it to him?" "Because he's my friend," Ella replied, matter-of-factly. "And friends share things." The simplicity of her daughter's answer struck a chord in Sarah's heart. It was the innocence of a child that often cut through the complicated layers of adult life, innocent love unburdened by the weight of past hurts. "Okay," Sarah finally said, her voice a whisper. "Let us wait until he comes back." Just as the words left her lips, they heard the sound of the front door opening. Sarah's heart pounded loudly, anticipation mingling with anxiety. When Jack stepped back in, his face was etched with worry. "I'm sorry, there was an issue at work." "Oh," Sarah replied, her stomach nodding. His tone suggested more than just work troubles. She felt the weight of unspoken words suspended in the air like a thick blanket. Ella, relentlessly optimistic, dashed over, excitedly holding out her drawing. "Jack! Look what I made for you." Jack's expression softened, and for a brief moment, the tension slipped away, replaced by the warmth of the child's love. But as he knelt to examine the drawing, Sarah's instincts flared. "Jack, what really happened?" She pressed, her voice steady but insistent. He paused, looking torn, the dark clouds of his earlier seriousness returning. It's complicated. We might need to talk more about this later, he said, glancing at the doorway as if searching for answers. Her heart sank, and fear wrapped around her like a heavy cloak. What was coming next? Was this really the start of change, or were they on the brink of another painful end? Before she could voice her next thought, Jack's phone buzzed again, this time lighting up with an incoming call, its urgency stark against the wary atmosphere. He glanced at her, caught in a silent battle. I should take this, he said, yet the words felt like a promise she didn't know if she could trust. As he stepped out of the room once more, Sarah felt the weight of uncertainty come crashing down. Time loomed heavy in the air. What truth was he keeping from her, and what would it mean for the fragile bond they were trying to rebuild? Was this connection they had just a flicker, or could it burn brighter? With questions piling up, Sarah's heart beat faster, holding her breath for the answers that felt just out of reach. The kitchen was filled with the chaos of children's laughter as Sarah stood there, her heart heavy and the weight of uncertainty pressing against her chest. She fought against the anxiety that bubbled beneath the surface, but every sound from the distant hum of Ella and Max playing, to the silence Jack left behind echoed like a drum in her ears. Ella's drawing still lay on the table, the colors bright and hopeful, a sharp contrast to the confusion swirling around them. Would Jack ever truly step back into their lives? Could they rebuild the family they once had, or would it just slip away like sand through her fingers? As Jack stepped out again for yet another call, the fear of unanswered questions loomed large. The moments felt heavy and unyielding as she turned her back to the door, focusing on her children instead. "All right, kiddos," she called cheerfully, forcing a smile as she leaned into the lightness they brought. "Who's ready for some dinner?" Max and Ella bounded over, their faces lit with anticipation. The smell of freshly cooked pasta wafted through the air, and for a split second, laughter chased away the storm clouds hanging in her mind. They gathered around the table, and as she served their plates, she watched them begin to dig in. The innocence in their conversations transported her away from the worries, even if just momentarily, but the tension returned the moment Jack walked back into the kitchen. His demeanor had changed, a blend of frustration and determination plastered across his face. Sarah swallowed hard, steeling herself. "Jack, we need to talk now. I can't keep doing this back and forth." His expression softened, revealing his own inner turmoil. "I know, Sarah. And I'm sorry. The call, it's about the company. They're restructuring, and I'm at the center of it." Each word weighed heavy, like stones dropping into a still pond, sending ripples through her understanding of their situation. "What does that mean for us?" she asked, her voice firm but trembling. What worse fate awaited them had become her nightly guessing game, a shadow that threatened to creep back into the light they were trying to build. "It means I have some serious decisions to make," he replied slowly, looking directly into her eyes. "But it also means that I'm going to fight for this for us. I need you to understand how serious this is for me. I want to build something great together for you and the kids." "By what, throwing money at me?" she retorted, her heart racing as she felt the anger rise. "Do you think that will fix everything, Jack? We've been broken apart, and even if you want to step back in, that doesn't mean it comes without consequences." His eyes caught the light, reflecting the pain of realization. "I know it doesn't. But I can't just walk away. I've spent too long wishing I'd made a different choice." "What choice, Jack?" She spat slightly, feeling the heat of the argument flare. "You walked away when things got tough. I was trying to protect you," he exclaimed, his voice rising with raw emotion. "I thought distance would help, but it only made me realize how much I want to be with you. I've been a fool. But now I want a second chance." Silence enveloped them, the weight of regrets and dreams hanging in the air. The innocence of her children's laughter shrank into the background. "This isn't just some job merger, Jack. You can't just decide to come back and expect everything to fall into place. My kids can't go through more heartbreak. I know, he said softly. I've been a coward. I didn't believe I deserved you or this life. But I'm willing to fight for it. Tears pooled in Sarah's eyes, not just from frustration but from the flicker of hope buried within. She had wanted more than anything to see Jack fight for them, yet the fear of being hurt again clawed at her from the inside. I don't do things half-heartedly, she whispered. I'm either all in or I'm out. What are you willing to risk? Jack inched closer, the determination in his eyes strengthening her resolve. I'll risk everything, Sarah. For you, for our kids, I want to do this. Together. It won't be easy, but I want you to tell me what you need, and I'll make it happen. At that moment, as Ella chimed in about her drawing, Sarah felt a stir in her heart, a strange mix of fear and hope. It was raw, and she knew whatever lay ahead would demand their best selves, but standing weakly in the tensions was no longer an option. Then let us start with today, Sarah said, her voice steady with conviction. Let us show our kids we can fight together for the things that matter. Jack nodded, finally the whispering sense of release coursing through the air as their stony silence shattered into understanding. Okay, he said. One day at a time, yeah. Yes. As they moved closer, Ella's drawing remained between them, a visual testament to their willingness to try again. For the first time in a while, Sarah felt a budding strength rise within her, a spark between the unknown and possibility. And as the afternoon stretched into evening, a soft yet unyielding determination settled in her heart. They would rebuild. Together. And so, as they settled down once more, this time as a family with an uncertain future, but surrounded by laughter and the hopes they shared, they knew their journey held the power to inspire that second chance they both desperately desired. It was not perfection they sought but the bond of commitment, the promise of risk that flickered beneath the surface, urging them both to embrace the future with open hearts. Now it was time to step forward, together hand in hand, building this newly woven life one brick at a time. And as the laughter flowed once again, their future greeted them with a warm invitation to begin anew. If you're inspired by this story and want to see more, you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help others discover this transformative journey. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. You know we love to hear from you. And don't wait not even one more second. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Let's spread the love and inspiration.